Aloha, shalom everybody. We are live for the final quarter activation. And the final quarter is always about closing up this past cycle and creating the space for the new moon to come, the new cycle to come next week. So the final quarter is kind of the in-between stage. For those of you who are new to these videos, we've been doing them every single week for, I don't know, over 4 years now, and we haven't missed one. And for those of you who are returning to the activation portal, aloha, thank you for returning. Thanks for bringing your light and your magic to the activation portal. So I'm just setting up here. And as usual, I have both my tarot cards out and I have my Hebrew letter cards out. And this month has been a really potent cycle. We are in between two eclipses right now. We just had the lunar eclipse, partial lunar eclipse, and now we are going to have a solar eclipse on the 4th. So we're in a really powerful time. And now we're just closing up this past month and just reviewing everything that's happened. Feeling good to be working toward this closure now so that we can set the space for a new beginning. I'm tuning in from Sedona, Arizona, as usual. Where in the world are you tuning in from? Let me know in the comments. Where in the world are you? And by the way, y'all, tomorrow night is the first night of Hanukkah. And if you want to know more about the Kabbalistic understanding of Hanukkah as it applies to all people, not just Jews, but all people, then go ahead and join our private group, Shabbat Crew, on Facebook. You could find it on my page here, Royal Path Tarot. The group is linked to the page. It's called Shabbat Crew. I will be sharing resources that explain the true meaning of Hanukkah and the practical application of its meaning in these times, in this present day and age. So good to see you all. Let's see, Arizona, North Carolina, Holland. Eric says he's in Littleton, not sure where that is, but that cool. Constance in Cottonwood. Yay, so good to see you all. So Hanukkah is the time of year just basically where we have an overflowing light. We have access to overflowing light. We take in that extra light so that we can carry it with us into the rest of the year in those times when we're going to need it most. We're gathering the extra light so that we can walk with confidence through the inevitable challenges ahead. But if you want to know more, join us in Shabbat Crew. Okay. Taking out the Hebrew cards. They look like this. Thank you, Archetypes, Faces of the One, in advance for helping us to extract this message for the week ahead. I'm going to start with the tarot cards as usual. And we will begin with the challenge of the week. The challenge is always also the gift. So when you hear that this is the challenge of the week, you want to know that as we make it through the challenge, it becomes the gift. It becomes the bridge that carries us into the future. Okay, so you don't ever want to be intimidated by the challenge. You want to be excited about it. You want to look to identify this energy wherever you can in your life, seeing it as an opportunity. Wherever you find it, knowing it's an opportunity for you to push past the challenge, push through the discomfort to make it to the other side. So the challenge for the week. And what do we have to what do we have to look forward to? Why are we going through this challenge? What's a little glimpse into the future? And then with the Hebrew cards, who is the ally for the week? Okay. The challenge is Major Arcanum card. We always bring that fire. Literally, there's fire here. We always bring the power to the reading. So I just want to, before we even jump into it, I just want to say thank you guys for really showing up, because the cards reflect that presence and that light. And one way to tell is when the very first card we pull out of just 2 cards, and then the third being a Hebrew letter, out of just 2 tarot cards, we always get at least one major arcanum. So I just want to remind you guys of how powerful this activation portal has become, thanks to all of you who show up every week. Okay, so challenge of the week, the devil. And it's funny because I started off this activation telling you guys, and I don't often do this, but I paused and I said to you guys specifically, don't be afraid of the challenge. Don't be afraid of the challenge, because it's also the gift. And when I said that, I thought of the devil, because this is often a card that many are intimidated by or afraid of. And now here we are pulling it in the position of the challenge and gift this week. And you've got to remember that each of the tarot cards are a personification of a force that lives behind all things, a force that's always present. So it wouldn't do us any good to carry fear around any of the archetypes, because first of all, it's an operative force that's always in motion. So to fear it would mean we'd have to live in fear every moment. And second of all, it's a force that's a part of us. It's one with us. So if we were to have fear, carry fear around any of these archetypes, we would only be carrying fear toward a part of our own selves. We would be denying a part of self. And I just think of the John Lennon song, what on earth do you have to fear when you're everywhere? Gonna get your share. You have nothing to fear, because everything is one. And all of these cards are just drawings, personifications of forces that live within all things, including within yourself. So certainly we don't want to be afraid of the devil. And anyway, we're only afraid of things that we don't understand. So let's understand, what is the devil? To understand any part of the sequence of the tarot, the story of the tarot, you want to look to the cards before and after. So what comes before the devil? Card 14, Temperance, known in ancient Egypt as the alchemist. And that's the part of the story where we write the script for the next experience in our lives. We write the blueprint for the experience to come. What comes even before card 14, Temperance? 13, Death, also known as transformation. So you see how it makes sense as a sequence. You have the death, and then you rewrite the script for the next experience to come, because death or an ending is only leading to a new beginning, a rebirth. Okay, so we had 13, death, 14, write the script for the next experience, and then 15, the inevitable lessons that come with every experience. So the devil represents the lessons that we have to learn, and oftentimes the mistakes that we have to make to learn those lessons. And then after the devil comes 16, the tower. Whatever is not real falls anyway. Whatever is not truly sustainable falls anyway. All those bad habits, all those mistakes, eventually it all breaks down. And then you move from 16, the tower, to 17, the star, returning to the truth within yourself. The only thing that's real, the truth, the light that lives within. So now you're beginning to understand that the devil isn't anything to be afraid of. It's just a representation of an inevitable part of the path of life. Okay, so if the devil is in the position of the challenge this week, it's challenging us to look at whatever it is we're thinking, saying, or doing that is working against our own self, okay? Another way to look at that is first starting with an image or an idea of what is your highest self. What is that? What does that look like? What does that feel like? What are your highest characteristics? your qualities in the highest light. And then, really, once you've meditated on that image and you become familiar with the frequency of your own highest image and highest expression, then coming out of that meditation and asking yourself, are all of my thoughts lately and all of my belief programs in alignment with manifesting or maintaining that vibration of my highest self? Or am I thinking certain things or believing certain things that are going to eventually and inevitably cause the destruction of that frequency of my highest self? That's the devil. That's the devil in our experience. That's where we have to identify the devil. The devil is in the thoughts that are working against our own self. Okay, so you understand you have to have a very clear vision and a very strong feeling, a very strong sense of who you are in your highest light. Otherwise, you have nothing to compare to. So start off by seeing yourself and feeling yourself in that highest light, and then revisit, what have my thoughts been lately? What have my beliefs been lately? Are they in alignment with the maintenance of this high frequency, who I truly am? And whatever's not, that's the devil. That's the devil. It's no one else. We have to take accountability. It's no one else. No one else is the devil. There's only one here anyway. So don't play games. Don't be distracted. Ask yourself, take accountability. What thoughts am I choosing? Because it's not just, oh man, I better take responsibility. It should be exciting. Like, oh, I should take responsibility. I'm in control. That feels good. I have the power to choose differently. It's not about anyone else. There's only one. Okay, so first examine your thoughts, because that's the root of everything. What thoughts am I carrying? What beliefs am I carrying that are not going to help me maintain this highest frequency of who I truly know I am? And then your words. Watching your words closely. How are my words, as I remain aware, how am I observing that my words are reflecting deeper programming that I wasn't able to catch in my mind? My words are now showing me that I have deep programming that is the devil. Programming that is carrying me away from that which I truly wish to manifest, and that which God truly, or the Creator truly, wishes to manifest through me. So your thoughts, your words, and your actions. How can you stay alert of your thoughts, your words, and your actions, and see in which ways your mind, your words, and your actions are either focused on supporting the maintenance of your highest frequency or not? Everything we think, say, and do is either moving in this direction or that. Everything we think, say, and do is either carrying us further in the direction of cultivating the ability to maintain with grace and with ease the highest frequency as an expression of our highest light, or what we're thinking, saying, or doing is moving us away from that. It's either moving us toward it or away. The goal is to direct our thoughts, our words, and our actions in a direction that's going to help develop habits that are supportive of maintaining our highest frequency. But if we're thinking, saying, and doing things that are not in resonance with that highest frequency, we're doing the opposite. We're working for the devil. So the devil, being the challenge of the week, is simply telling us to really watch closely. What are we thinking? What are we saying? What are we doing? Is it moving us in this direction or that? Is it moving us toward that path of being able to gracefully and easily, with the support of nature and the universe, draw out that highest light of who we really are? That light of our truest expression. Or are we noticing that our thoughts, words, and actions are pulling us away from that? And remember this too, when you identify those thoughts, words, or actions that are pulling you away from that highest path, don't get stuck in a loop of victimization or being upset with yourself or punishing yourself, or what's even worse, punishing others for your own choices. Don't get caught in that trap. Instead, be excited. Again, be excited about the mistakes because they are opportunities. Anytime we stray from the path, the funny thing is, in the world of archetypes, in the world of timelessness, in the world outside of time and space, there is no diverting from the path because there is no time or space. There's only one point of light. There's actually no diverting from the path. There is only one path. It's only an illusion. And so we've really got to get that down, that knowing down, that it's only an illusion. And so if we seem to stray from the path, we don't want to go, oh man, look at all that time wasted. Are you forgetting the archetypal perspective that reminds us that there is no such thing anyway as time and space? And those are only tools. Those are only tools in this dimension to help us move through these lessons so that we can take as much time as we need to keep learning, to keep growing, so that we can make mistakes, so that we can fall, to rise again ever higher. That's the whole point. That's the whole reason of why we're here on this earth, on this plane, at this time, in space. So don't be fooled. The devil is working for us. There's only one. There's only one. So for example, look at how the devil is lighting his tail. This is the idea that the devil puts a fire under our ass. The devil is the force that speeds up the process. It's the heat in the alchemical furnace. It's the force within us that lights things up, burns things up a little bit so that we can get going, get growing, get glowing by learning from our mistakes. Okay, so as you move through this process this week of really staying alert of what thoughts, words, or actions are either in alignment with maintaining your highest frequency or not in alignment with maintaining your highest frequency, you should be equally as excited when you identify either. So for example, if you say, oh wow, I'm really noticing how my thoughts, like I'm doing a good job. My thoughts are supporting the drawing out of my highest frequency and maintaining that frequency. Good job, me. And then you observe the pattern that you've been maintaining, and then you lock it in even further through the acknowledgement, through the awareness, and through the being proud of yourself. So you then extract those formulas that are going to help you into the future. So that's great, right? But it's equally as exciting when you identify those parts that are the devil, when you identify those thoughts, words, or actions that have been pulling you away. That's also exciting. In fact, that might even be more exciting because there's light within the darkness. It's an opportunity. When you identify those ways in which you've not been moving in a positive direction, you might as well tell yourself in that moment, wow, this is an opportunity for me to grow. Things are about to get even better now that I've identified the bump in the road, or now that I've identified the knot that I have to undo. Because once you move through that challenge and you correct it through conscious application of your will, you, with your own power, create more light of a situation that was once very dark. Okay, so the difference is in the past, you might have said, wow, that thought is not working for me, or those words I've been using, they don't feel so good, I wish I didn't say that, or wow, I wish I didn't do that thing. But now we're going to change that. Instead of saying, I wish I didn't, instead of having regrets, we're going to go, yay, I'm noticing where I haven't been my highest self, and now I have a chance to be more of my highest self now that I've noticed it. Do you see what I'm saying? Because you can say, wow, I wish I didn't do that thing or say that thing or think that thing, but that's not going to get you anywhere. What is that doing? It's not doing anything. In fact, whatever came of, as a result, whatever came of those negative ways of thinking, speaking, or acting was just a lesson. It's just more material for you to grow. So long as you make a change and you truly are willing to repent or correct that which you in the past would have regretted, if instead of regret, you quickly make a change, then it's all good. It's better than it could have ever been without the mistake. As long as you make beauty of your mistakes, as long as you're willing to look at them and take conscious action to neutralize the effects of the past, then it's a golden opportunity. Then that mistake becomes a blessing. And that's why the devil was given a place in the tarot, because it's so important. We're always going to make mistakes. But so long as we transform them into blessings and use them for the highest good of all as one, they're blessings. So don't be upset about your mistakes. And don't be afraid to make them. They're inevitable. They're going to happen. Instead, use your energy here and now to formulate conscious strategies as to how you are going to move through them once you identify them, how you are going to correct them, how are you going to neutralize the effects of the past instead of sitting there hating yourself and blaming yourself or blaming others for the mistakes you made or they made. Instead, how can we cut out that nonsense and just look to where we have been diverting from the path? And remember, it's an illusion anyway. There's only one path, so no point in beating yourself up. But instead, turn the mistakes into blessings. Turn them into opportunities. Okay, so that is the challenge for the week ahead. Look for those ways in which you've been denying your truth. Look for those ways in which you've been thinking, speaking, and acting in a way that is pulling you away from expressing your highest self. And know that once you identify them, you will create deeper opportunities to draw out the light of your truest self in ways that you never have before. But remember not to get sucked in to that self-hate or that victimization, okay? Because it's real. We get materialistically entangled when we come upon our own thoughts or our words or actions that are yucky, that are not of a higher frequency. You know, thoughts, words, or actions that are an expression of hate or impatience or frustration or anger. We want to feel yucky about ourselves. We want to judge ourselves. We immediately want to go to this self-hate. But it's in those moments where the opportunity lies for us to shift our response. And instead of hating ourselves, be excited about identifying those things. Because all those expressions are temporary anyway. They're going to die with these bodies. So loosen up a bit. Let go a little bit. Forgive yourself. And know that as long as you choose to take conscious action and shift your response, it's a total waste of your time to beat yourself up. But really look for the ways in which you've been thinking, speaking, and acting that you're just not proud of. And from there, instead of doing what you've always done, which is beating yourself up and hating yourself for it and carrying regrets, instead of all that, make a change and promise yourself that now, as you look for all those negative things about yourself and you look for all those ways in which you've been a not so nice person, we're now looking for those things with the goal of correcting it once and for all. We're not going to just get lost in self-pity and sit there and go, oh, look at all these terrible things I've done. We're going to go, ooh, let's see where I can correct my behaviors and know that there's beauty in that process and there's power in that process. And that right now I'm more supported than ever in this eclipse sandwich. I'm more supported than ever by nature and the universe. At this specific time of year and at this specific time in space, I am more supported than ever to use my poor behaviors, my poor ways of thinking, my poor ways of speaking, my poor ways of acting as opportunities to make a change. And I know that as I make this change, I'm doing it not just for me, but I'm doing it for the one. And I am healing. I am repairing. I am correcting. I am neutralizing the effects of all the shitty things that I and we have done across time and space. I'm healing that. I'm using my own mistakes and my own shitty behaviors in this lifetime as a ritual, as an opportunity to effect all of the negative manifestations that have come of this shitty behavior through the collective mind. It's not just mine. We're together in this, right? That's how we want to look at it. We are together in this. As I use my mistakes, as I use my shitty behaviors to correct the damage that's been done by the collective, we rise as one. So know that when you identify your mistakes, you don't have to take it so personally. When you see those mistakes, when you identify the mistakes or the negativity in your thinking, in your words, in your actions, know that they're not yours alone. You're not alone. We all fall into these traps of vice, and it's okay. Remember, all that isn't real dies anyway. But it shouldn't be a justification for you to continue that behavior, because then, silly you're just on a hamster wheel forever. That's weak. Do you want to be weak? No one wants to be weak. So sure, you can say, oh, then if all that is shitty anyway doesn't go with us beyond the grave, if only light is eternal, then who cares? I'll just live in a world of sin. Well, the joke's on you, because you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to get anywhere. We're in this together, and the only way to get to more joy, more prosperity, more empowerment, which is what we all want, the only way to get to that is by doing this work, by putting in the effort to advance psychologically and spiritually. It's the only way. Okay, so now that we know that, and we don't want to be weak, and we don't want to be stuck on a hamster wheel, and we know we have to do the work, then what you should do this week is, when you identify your mistakes or your shitty ways of thinking, your shitty ways of speaking, your shitty ways of acting, know that it's not just you. You're expressing a wound within the collective mind. You're expressing from that place of suffering, from the pain body of not just you, but the collective. And so in those moments when you remember that, say you have a shitty thought and you go, oh, why do I have to think this way? First step is to remember you're not alone. And the reason you're thinking that way is a result of the pain of our ancestors. So it's okay that you're thinking that way. I validate you now in this moment. I'm validating those feelings. I'm letting you know that they're justified. It's okay to feel hurt. It's okay to feel pain. And it's okay to have developed shitty ways of thinking, shitty belief programs around that fear and those pains, because that's a natural response. We're human too. We're part human. And it's awesome. And those thoughts or those words or those actions that are reflecting the pain, they're a gift, because they're helping you find the pain so that you can get to the source and heal it from there. And that source is always in the mind. So don't be upset when you observe that you've been thinking in shitty ways. Instead of going into that spiral of negative thinking, of self-hate, of victimization. Why am I thinking this way? First, remember, you're not alone. Your life is just a personal representation of something that's happening on a collective level. We're all experiencing it in our own ways. So know that you're not alone. And then when you remember you're not alone, you begin to not take things so personally, and you remember, this is the mission that we're all on together. Okay, so now I get it. This shitty way of thinking is there so that I can bring my awareness into the present moment and take conscious action, shift my usual response into something new, create a change for us, for the one. So now when I identify a shitty thought program, I'm going to go, yay, I found it. I found it. And it's okay. No matter what I've manifested up until this point as a result of those shitty thoughts is okay, because none of that's real anyway. None of that's real anyway. Remember, after the devil comes the tower, shit's going to fall. So why wait for it to fall? Why wait for the rug to be pulled out from under you? Pull it out from under yourself. Stop this bullshit now. Use your power to choose to knock down all that's not real. Ask for the reset. Don't wait for it. Don't wait for the universe to just knock you off your feet and surprise you. You are the universe. There's only one here. It's only you anyway who's going to pull that rug out from under yourself. So why not do it with more grace, with more ease, with awareness, calling it in rather than surprising yourself? But you can only do that when you be honest with yourself and observe your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And be honest with what is not working. Don't beat yourself up, but be honest. And then go, I've identified this shitty belief program. I've identified this shitty thought. Now, I remember the mission. And I'm going to transform this shitty thought into its opposite. And I'm going to know that as I'm doing that work in my own experience, within my own mind, that it is directly having an effect on the collective mind. And as I heal that program within myself, and as I neutralize or dismantle that program and replace it with the opposite, I know that I'm neutralizing all of the effects that that program has had, not only on my life, but on all the lives that have been expressed through time and space. I'm dismantling a program that has developed way beyond my life, way before my time, And I'm going to now, by replacing it with the neutralizing program, by replacing it with the opposite program, I'm going to neutralize those effects across time and space in the lives of all beings throughout all of creation. And what that does when you look at it that way, instead of beating yourself up when you see a negative way you've been thinking, instead of beating yourself up, and instead looking at it as a ritual to affect the whole, what it does is it empowers you. It gives you a feeling of purpose. It reminds you of your purpose and why you're here. It connects you to the one. It connects you to all of us. It connects you to all of life, which feels damn good. When you can pull yourself out of your little story and remember that your pain, or that you're falling off the path, which is just an illusion, you're falling off the path, is simply an opportunity for you to get back on it with more power, with more awareness, more connected to all of life than ever before. That feels good. It's time to get out of our own heads, our own story, and remember that we are a part of the whole. Okay, so when these challenges come up this week and you identify the ways in which you have not been thinking the highest thoughts, the ways that you have not been speaking the highest frequency words, right? If you've been speaking anything less than kind and compassionate and honest words, then it's okay. That's all right. It's just pointing you in the direction of your work that now needs to be done. It's pointing you in the direction of what needs to be shifted so that you can create a change. Don't focus so much on what has happened as a result of that negative way of being. Instead, be excited about how that's all going to shift now that you've identified it, because that's what really matters. Because through that shift and through creating a change, once you start to shift your thoughts and your words and your actions in a way that promotes positivity, then you start to cultivate more light. Then you start to bring more light into the world. You start to activate more light within yourself and allow that to be expressed through you. And the results of that are everlasting, because light is everlasting. On the other end, on the fearful side of it, the side you used to focus on, whatever you created from that space of fear or darkness or being out of alignment, all the results of that are temporary. They're not sustainable. They don't go beyond this body with you. They don't go beyond the grave. So who cares what happened in the darkness? All that matters is you identify where the darkness is so that you can shine a light on it. And that light that you shine on it is eternal. You see, so you don't need to be so focused on the fear as you need to be excited about the light that is to come once you transform that fear into love. Okay, so let's move toward a vision of the future now. And we have the Ace of Swords. And I already see so many things as I pull this card. So we have a major arcanum card, and now we have an ace. Super powerful reading already. Give me one moment. Okay, that's way better. So as we're moving into the future, we want to hold a vision of the Ace of Swords. Aces represent initiations, new beginnings. Swords is the suit of challenges. And something I see in particular about this initiation that's coming up with the next cycle, with the new moon next week, is that we are going to learn how to move through our challenges, through our struggles, with more power, with more confidence. Okay, to the extent that we get through this, will determine to what level we're going to activate this. Okay, the more work you do right now on this, and redirecting your thoughts, words, and actions toward a path that's going to support your highest frequency, the more you're going to be an embodiment of your authentic truth. The more that's going to come through your ways of thinking, the more that's going to come through in the way you speak, and the more it's going to come through in the way you act. So if you want that truth of who you really are to shine through you, to guide your way, to guide your thoughts, to guide your words, to guide your actions, you need to do this work. And that truth, what is that quote? Your truth, it defends you. Your sword is your truth. Okay, there's so many quotes around this. Innocence is like shining armor. It adorns and defends. Your innocence is your truth. You are innocent when you are embodying universal truth. So the more work you put in right now to redirect away from the devil, away from those thoughts, words, and actions that are bringing you down, the more you shift them to bring you up, the more you will maintain a frequency of truth. And that will push through any challenges that are ahead. That will help you get through any challenges or struggles with the most power. Because truly, power is not ours. Truly, we are most powerful when we are humble and when we are in our feminine, receptive element, opening up to source, so that that power of source can move through us uninhibited. That's when we're powerful. And we can only be humble, be receptive, and be magnetic to the power of source when we stop working for the devil, right? We're either working for one or the other. If we're directing our thoughts, words, and actions away from truth, we're working for the devil. If we're directing our thoughts, words, and actions toward truth, then we're working for source, for life. And we can open up to that power, which then guides our way. Okay? You're either opening up to truth or the opposite. You see, so as we move through the challenge of the week and we redirect our thoughts and our words and our actions to effortlessly move in the direction of truth, what happens is we open up to that truth. We become an embodiment of that truth. And that truth is the thing that becomes our sword that gets us through all challenges. And I see this to be directly aligned with the force of Hanukkah, with the power and ritual of Hanukkah, which is starting tomorrow night. And it's for 8 days. So Hanukkah is literally going to drive us into the new moon, into the new week, into the future. And Hanukkah is that time of year where we have extra light. We have access to extra light. For example, the usual everyday menorah has 3 on each side and 1 in the middle, okay? Showing like the 7 days of the week. But Hanukkah has extra light on each side. It's showing that it's a time of the year where there's extra light. And we draw that light in so that as we move through the inevitable challenges in the future ahead, we effortlessly move through them because we have that knowing deep inside that, oh, I've cultivated that extra light. I did the work to prepare my vessel to receive that extra light, so I know I'm good to walk through the dark times ahead because I have extra light now. Same concept as this. We're trying to see in what direction, our thoughts have been moving, our words have been spoken, our actions have been taken. We're seeing, were those thoughts, words, and actions taking us further in the darkness? Okay, let's see which thoughts, which words, which actions have been leading us into the dark and transform them to work for the light so that we can move toward that instead. And that becomes the force that drives us through the challenges ahead with grace and with ease. See, because if we didn't do this work and we remained in the dark, we would struggle a lot more. We would suffer a lot more. Our sword would not be sharpened because our sword is our truth. Our weapon is our truth. Light is all powerful. Light is life, is love, is truth. They're all one. We're either moving in the direction of embodying that or moving away from it. So how can we, even if you feel, oh, I haven't been giving in to the devil, I've been really positive and I've been definitely, maintaining a frequency of truth. Okay, well, I'm asking you to refine it. That's what the archetypes are saying. We are asking you to refine it. How can you take it to the next level? How can you push your thoughts to be higher? How can you make your speech purer? How can you take actions that are purer and maybe more actions if you feel, well, I already have. Well, how can you take it to the next level? By doing more good deeds, by saying more kind words, by thinking more compassionate thoughts, creating opportunities to insert more compassion into your awareness, into your words, and into your behaviors. Okay, so you see how some of us might be really on the vice side of things where we're really experiencing the challenge of this. where we've been saying really nasty things, and we've been thinking really nasty things, we've been doing really nasty things. Well, those are the more obvious habits that we need to correct. And good, that's awesome. Remember, they're opportunities. Okay? But then for some of us, we're maybe not on the as much on the challenging side as we already are on the gift side. So good for you. But for all of us, the truth remains the same. There is refining that can take place right now. There is a process of refinery that we all have access to right now. So if you haven't been giving into the devil, how can you give more into the light? How can you maximize the opportunities to insert compassion into your internal experience, therefore manifesting it in our shared world? Create new thought programs that are going to help effortlessly weave compassionate thinking into your mind. Create opportunities to speak more compassion, to use your mouth, to use your voice, to use your throat chakra or this sephirah to bring more light into the world. For example, how can you commit to every day calling one person that you love and just telling them something that's beautiful about them? Easily done. Anyone can do that. We can all do that. That's one way to access this energy right now. If you've been doing good deeds and you've been helpful, how can you be more helpful? How can you do an extra good deed today? How can you maybe teach someone about the blessings that come of doing good deeds? How can you do more good? Okay, so that's what this challenge is all about. And the extent to which you do this work will reflect in the days to come with the new moon next week and the new cycle coming up. And we have like our Gregorian New Year, right? There's so many ways to look at this. The extent to which you do this work now will reflect in the near future as you move through the inevitable challenges. For example, if you don't really work on this, you're going to be carrying more darkness. You're going to be approaching those challenges from a frequency of vice, which means you're going to be approaching those challenges with more darkness, more dishonesty, more frustration, more anxiety, more fear, more guilt, more shame, more anger. And when you carry that darkness with you, all those shitty frequencies with you into the challenges, of course you're not going to be as successful. Your sword is not going to be very sharp. You won't be an embodiment of truth. You will be approaching these challenges with a shitty foundation. You will be approaching these challenges with your worst foot forward, setting yourself up for failure. But if we want to set ourselves up for success in any experience in life, in any time in space, what you want to do, and the tarot shows you how to do this, what you want to do is move away from the darkness and move further into the light. Do conscious work to shift your thoughts, your words, and your actions in a way that will promote the cultivation and the expression of the light of compassion. That is setting yourself up for success in any moment. The more compassion we weave into our thoughts means the more honesty we're weaving into our thoughts, the more acceptance, the more patience, the more love, the more kindness. Because what is compassion? Compassion is the all-virtuous light of source of creation. Therefore, compassion contains all the other virtues, which are the keys to success in life on the royal path, which is tarot. And then we can deduct from there that the opposite, cultivating vice, cultivating dishonesty and anger and impatience and frustration, all those things are the opposite of what we want to be doing. They set us up for failure. It's as simple as this. And it doesn't matter what new beginning you're stepping into. Each moment is a new beginning. Therefore, the answer always remains the same. Whenever you want to step into the next moment with your best foot forward, you want to cultivate the light of the virtues in your thinking, in your speech, and in your actions. And this means cultivating compassion, as it is the all-virtuous light that contains all the others. You're either cultivating it or you're not. And that's what the challenge of this week is reminding us. You're either cultivating it or you're not. Look for the ways in which you haven't been. And rather than be upset about it, look at it as opportunities to redirect and know that blessings are going to come. For example, the Torah story this Shabbat, Shabbat is today, by the way, Shabbat Shalom. The Torah story is about Joseph and his brothers. all of Jacob's sons. And Joseph is the beloved son, and his brothers hate him for it. And he's prophetic. He has all these visions. He's psychic. His brothers hate him for it. And so they sell him into slavery in Egypt. But many years down the line, what happens is he, little by little, rises up to become the Pharaoh's right-hand man. And he predicts a drought. And the Pharaoh goes, whoa, you are so powerful. Can you please be the one to ration out the food, the grains, for all the people, because I trust you. And then his brothers come to get food because of the drought, and he's able to save his brothers and all of his people because they sold him to slavery. Okay, so the devil led him into slavery, but later what happened? He rose to this high position and was able to do good with his gifts of prophecy. And so we can learn from that story right now and see how in our darkest moments, in our hardest times, which are only a result of our own ways of thinking, speaking, and acting, okay, in those moments of suffering, we got to know that it's just a sacrifice. It's just a sacrifice. And soon, if we are willing to make the change, then soon the gifts will come. Because that's the law of energy. When we fall, we rise again. So how can we, instead of waiting for the rise again, see that rise in the fall, so that we don't have to spend so much time falling, but so that we can catch ourselves more quickly and make the most of that experience more quickly without having to suffer so much. Okay? So how can you look to those ways in which you've been thinking, speaking, and acting that have been pulling you away from expressing your highest light, and become excited that knowing that once you shift those thoughts, those words, and actions, you're going to be expressing that light in ways you never have before, which is your soul's highest desire. You are being offered a chance to fulfill your soul in a very powerful way, in a way that's going to affect all of the generations to come, because the light that comes of this work you are here now doing is a light that continues on forever. Okay, so to the extent that you do this, will determine how you're going to experience this in the days to come. Will you have cultivated that truth as your protection, as your power? Because there are challenges coming, there always will be. But if you do the work right now on cultivating a truthful expression and a virtuous expression, if you fashion your mind to be naturally inclined to think compassionate thoughts, then your words will reflect that, and they will be words of compassion, of love, of light. And your actions will follow as well, and you will be in alignment, mind, body, soul. And that alignment is what becomes your sword of truth, that guides you through the challenges ahead with grace, with ease, with the power of the One as the force that blasts through these challenges, carrying you through to the other side each time with greater light at the end of the tunnel. But if you choose to remain in vice and do the opposite and allow your thoughts to spiral in the opposite direction, then your words will reflect that hate, that frustration, that anger, that victimization. And then your actions will reflect that. And you will set yourself up, instead of success, for failure. And you will not open to the light of God or the light of the Creator. You will remain in the darkness and suffer. And that's okay if that's what you want to choose. Because there's this part in you, this tiny little part in you that is light, and it can never be distinguished. And I know that, and Creator knows that, and your brothers and sisters know that. And so we're not worried. We know that it's only a matter of time until you choose the path of cultivating that light, knowing that it's not just a fluffy concept, but that it's actual science. That eventually you're going to have to choose the path of light, because darkness is going to lead you nowhere. It's a hamster wheel. So take all the time you need, because time isn't real. But once you remember the light within, you'll remember that that's the only thing that lasts forever. And you will remember to direct all of your thoughts, your words, and your actions toward supporting, nurturing, and expanding that light, because that's truly the only worthy pursuit in this life. When you realize that light is the only thing that's eternal, you simultaneously then realize that the only worthy pursuit in this life is that of the cultivation of light. And the way that we cultivate that light is through our own spiritual and psychological evolution, which affects the spiritual and psychological evolution of the whole, of the one. So it's only a matter of time before you access the deepest initiation of this card. And right now, at this potent time in space, we together have the opportunity to harness the energies that can dismantle a very ancient program once and for all, and weave light into our collective experience to begin cultivating a new world, which we've already been doing. This is the next step. This is the next quantum leap right here. Okay, so this is what's to come. Challenges are to come. Inevitable. That's why this is a card of the deck. Ace of Swords. We're constantly going to be initiated through challenges. That's what this card represents. But the way it's showing up right now in reflection of this current time and what we are experiencing is saying there are going to be challenges. So are you going to cultivate that truth within yourself so that it can carry you through? Or are you going to continue to choose to suffer? We have one more card. And it's the Hebrew card, and it's the ally. And so the Hebrew cards work the same way as the tarot cards, you guys. Basically, each card is connected, each Hebrew letter is connected to a specific card in the tarot. I'm laying them out right now. I actually picked two cards, and I want to make sure that I shuffle them back in correctly to pick just one so that we have the one ally for the week. And I'm making sure I have every card in here too so that we don't miss a letter. And sure enough, we have one in here that was missing. Last week we had the letter Bet as our ally, and that was all about intuition and the High Priestess. This week we have the Kaf. Okay, and this is the 11th letter of the alphabet. The Kaf is connected to card 11, which in modern tarot is known as strength, but in ancient times was known as the enchantress. In fact, in a lot of modern decks, it's actually entirely manipulated, and 11 has been given the place of the justice card or balance. This is not correct. So first of all, there's a manipulation there to be aware of, okay? The 11 should always be the strength card. So if you have a deck, you can go ahead and change 8 and 11 and switch them. And I have videos about this. If you want to know more, just ask me after this and I'll send you over the information. Okay, so the 11th letter, the Kaf, is connected to strength, also known as the enchantress in ancient Egypt. And we already talked about this ally, and this always happens when we do these activations. We already call in the ally before we flip the card. We were just talking a moment ago about how the true strength that we have, our truest strength that we have, is the strength of the Creator. So the only way to open up to that strength is when we are receptive, when we are humble, when we're in our feminine, magnetic force, in our feminine element, right? That's the only way to truly call in that power, to draw in that power. We just spoke about that in regard to this. If we want to truly be powerful, then we have to remember that power is not ours. and we have to be humble and receptive and open up to the power of the light, of the one. And we just spoke about how we're either doing that, moving in the direction of opening up to that, or we're moving away from that, right? Well, the Chaf and 11 and the Strength card, the Enchantress, is all about that. It's all about knowing that our truest strength comes from our feminine aspect. It comes from the feminine force within, our ability to be receptive. When we're in our masculine force, we are active. It's our intellectual way of thinking. It's not our intuitive way. And this is why you'll see in the Rider-Waite deck, the Strength card has a woman on it. And that's because each one of us, man, woman, child, has this archetype within, which is a feminine archetype. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman in this body. We all have this archetypal wisdom within us that reminds us it's our feminine, receptive aspect that opens us up to our true strength, because opens us up, right? We have to open and surrender. That's feminine. That's the part of us that is feminine, that can surrender and be humble. And so the Chaf is reminding us of our true strength. We can't be humble, which is a virtue, when we are carrying a darker frequency of vice. We're either in our ego or we're open to spirit. We're being receptive and humble. We can't be both at the same time. So it's saying that if we want to access this ally this week, if we want to access our highest strength, if we want to receive that strength so that we can move through the challenges that are on their way with the most grace and ease, then we need to cut this shit out. We need to look at the ways in which we've been thinking, speaking, and acting that are not supporting a frequency of humility and a frequency of receptivity. So if we're thinking things that are keeping us the opposite of humble, if we're thinking things that are keeping us too proud and too self-obsessed, thoughts of vanity, if we're carrying a frequency of vanity, then we are unable to open up to our truest strength. We are unable to open up to the ally of the Chaf, of our inner enchantress. The enchantress is the one who connects to source and draws in that power. We can't activate that element within us that has that ability to do that if we're so busy being in our ego and thinking, oh, how great I am in my little story in this little human life. Okay, so if we want to open up to our greatest strength, to access the gift that's coming in the future, the gift of moving through challenge with grace, if we want to do that, then right now we have to redirect our thoughts in a direction of humility. We have to activate our feminine aspect, which is receptive, which surrenders. The more we step into that, the more we will move toward this opening up to source strength, to the power, the unlimited potential of the Creator. Okay, so you may want to take out the Strength card from your deck, and remember to make it card 11, not 8. 11 is the number that contains these secrets of this particular archetypal wisdom, not 8. 8 is a whole other set. It's a whole other part of the story. So if you want to activate the power of the ally this week, you can print out this letter, Chaf, or you can take from any tarot deck, really. You can take the Strength card and put it on your altar. You can look up the art and make it your phone background. You can put it on the mirror where you're going to brush your teeth and wash your face first thing in the morning. Sleep with it under your pillow, whatever. But strength and the Chaf and the number 11, these are all symbols and words that are going to help you activate that force within you that is most helpful this week. It is the one that reminds us of what our true strength is. It's not ours, but it's the Creator's, and we are one with Creator. So if we want to activate that true strength and not the false sense of strength. Not that, haha, I'm so big and strong, but if we really want to activate that truest power, then this week we have work to do to redirect our poor ways of thinking, speaking, and acting toward ways of thinking, speaking, and acting that are compassionate, that are humble, that direct us to surrender to the truth, which is a reflection of the light of source, the light of creation. If our thoughts, words, and actions are reflecting darkness, then they're not reflecting an ability to access that power, because it's light that is the bridge to that source of unlimited power, and true power and potential. So whatever is making us turn away from that bridge, from that light, from that truth, from that love, is what needs to be redirected to open us up to more light, to more love, to more truth, which then creates a bridge between us and source, which then gives us access to that power, which is going to help us blast through the inevitable challenges ahead. Okay, so do you see the way in which it's all connecting now? And by the way, I also want to point out, I love how it unfolded with the Hebrew card today, and how two were pulled and we had to put them back in and take them out. And then I remembered in that moment that we still had one on the altar from last week. I love the way that all unfolded, because it shows us that it was even more perfect that this card was pulled today. Because also the bet, the letter that was pulled last week, is the letter that this is an evolution of, okay? So bet has a numerical value of 2. Chaf has a numerical value of 11. When you reduce 11 to a single digit, you get 2. Okay, so the strength card, aka Enchantress, she is an evolution of the High Priestess. The High Priestess, last week the ally, is the one who maintains the balance within, stays connected to intuition. The Enchantress is the evolution of that, the next, what they call decave, the next decave of that. She is the expression of that intuition as her power, as her strength. When she stays connected to the mother and father within, those are the two that are a reflection of the Almighty One. So as she maintains connection to the mother and father within, what she's really doing is maintaining a connection to source. So when she opens her eyes and comes out of her meditation on what is within, she then sees it in the world without, and that becomes her strength, is her relationship and her connection to source, which is represented as the mother and father within us. Okay, so you can see then how the High Priestess is connected to the Strength card. The Strength card is saying that our strength is reflected in our ability to maintain that High Priestess archetype. To the degree to which we are able to maintain a strong intuition is the degree to which we will be powerful, because our power is not ours, but it's in our spirit that is connected to the one source of all creation. There's also a third evolution, which is in the Reish. It's card number 20, Judgment. If you reduce 20 to a single digit, you also get 2. So that's just a little hint for you guys who are more into the understanding of tarot. The High Priestess, the Strength card, and the Judgment card are all connected through the number 2. It's showing a sequence within the sequence of tarot. It's showing the evolution of the High Priestess, what happens as she grows. Okay, so it's funny, last week we got the High Priestess as the ally, the bet. Now we got the Chaf, which is the Strength card. And when you tie it all up together, we see that when we remember what our true strength is, we remember that we need to be humble in order to receive that strength. And in order to be humble, we have to go through the challenge of this week, which is looking at all the ways in which we've been thinking, speaking, and acting that are promoting the opposite of humility. And look for those places as opportunities to insert the humility so that we can shift, so that we can turn away from the darkness and toward the light. And as we move closer and closer to that light, we become that embodiment of it. And the light from within is the light that powers through all challenges ahead. We become an expression of truth, and our expression becomes the sword of truth. We become the sword of truth that makes it through all challenges to find the crown, to find the gift, to find the treasure on the other side. And I don't know if you guys remember, I don't know if it was the last activation or I think the one before that, where we spoke about the sword and the stone and seeing the heart as stone and how there's a sword stuck in that stone. And when we transform the heart of stone into a heart that is crystalline, right? When we transform the heart from stone to crystal through the process of activating the light from the center of us, from within us, right? The heart then, the stone of the heart becomes crystalline. And the sword, which is made of truth, which is made of light, which is already crystal, can then be accessed. Right? This is trippy visions here. In fact, one of my friends here on Facebook actually sent me a beautiful art piece of this very vision as she heard it described in one of the previous activations. I'd love to share it with you guys if she would allow me to. So if you're watching, let me know. I'd love to share it. So think of that, you guys. If we want to access that sword of truth and allow it to permeate our being and so that we can become that sword of truth, we need to first look to how our heart is stone, cold, hardened. And we need to soften it. We need to lighten it. We need to enlighten it. We need to alchemize the stone into crystal so that the sword, which is made of light, which is made of truth, which is already crystalline, can be released from the stone. Okay? So ally, remember, your strength is not yours alone. It's the strength of the one that's the greatest power. And if you want to open to it, you have to be humble. You have to be an embodiment of the light of Creator itself. Because remember the theory of resonance, right? If you want to access the light of Creator, you need to embody a frequency that puts you in resonance with that light. That's how this reality works. That's how this vibrational reality works. So if you want to access your truest strength, if you want to access the light of the Creator, you need to fashion your thoughts, your words, and your actions to be a reflection of that compassion. So whatever you're doing that hasn't been that, time to make a change and direct it in the direction of being that, so that you create a bridge between you and Creator, so that you become the bridge. And once you do become that bridge, once you become an embodiment of that light, it is that very light that's going to carry you through the days ahead. Instead of with suffering, instead of in the darkness, it'll be in the light. It'll be in a way that helps you capitalize on the incoming energies. It'll be in a way that is the highest way it could possibly be done. Simply because you're choosing to take your best foot forward, step your best foot forward. Simply because you're choosing to step into the light and out of the darkness. That is the way that we are going to make the most of the challenges ahead, making sure that we utilize every bit of incoming energy toward the mission that we all share. If you want to make the most of the days ahead, it's time. It's time to remember what your true strength and power is, okay? Your true strength and power is not in what you've thought it's been in these most recent days. Your true strength and power is not in that temporary satisfaction that you're getting from a shitty way of thinking or a shitty habit, okay? If you have been feeling good in your vices, if you've been feeling good in your shitty ways of thinking and your mean speech and your shitty actions, then that's showing you that you're feeding the devil within you. You're feeling good in that negative power. It's time to remember your true power, your true strength, which is light, which lasts forever. Because this dark strength that you've been loving, unconsciously maybe even, is a false strength. It's temporary. It's not sustainable. So whatever's been feeling good for you, let's say it's an addiction, right? Like a shitty habit, or like alcoholism even, right? It's a classic example, especially in our country, in America. And then again, there are so many of you tuning in from other countries right now. It's really a problem all over. In general, addiction, we all have addictions to things, right? So if you've been feeling good, whatever the addiction is, if you've been feeling good from that, know that you can feel better. Whatever power you've been receiving from negative ways of thinking, know that it's temporary. Know that it will not even compare to the power that you will feel when you step into the light. It's a false power you've been feeling, and it's time to remember your truest strength, your truest power. And it's time to remember that the only way to open up to that highest power, which leads to the highest prosperity, not just for you, but for all of us, the only way to do that is to redirect your path in thought, speech, and action, to be humble, and to focus on the collective. When you do that, you will move through all the challenges ahead with the least suffering, with the most grace, with the most empowerment, with the most purpose, using every challenge and even every experience as an opportunity to imbue your purpose, to live your purpose, to express your highest light, to affect the whole. Okay? For example, if you didn't want to access this highest light and you want to remain in vice, you're going to move forward with more suffering. And your experiences are going to keep you feeling small and depressed and anxious. And your challenges ahead and all of your experiences ahead, even if they're not very challenging, you're going to have a negative outlook because that's the lens through which you're seeing. That's the frequency you're carrying. Is that what you want? To move ahead through life with, just grudgingly, with resistance? Carrying hate and shame and guilt and fear and anger and frustration? Or would you like to lighten that load and move through the days ahead with purpose, knowing that everything you're experiencing is simply a ritual and an opportunity for you to create a shift in our world, for you to do what you came here to do, for you to come here who you came here to be? Do you want to walk through your days ahead feeling small and purposeless and disconnected from life? Or do you want to move through the days ahead with remembrance, with connection to all of life and to the forces of power and to the one force of the greatest power, with remembrance of your purpose, with the opportunity to live out that purpose, to feel empowered, to feel proud of yourself in a way that is not egotistical, but in a way that is in fact divine? Because that's the way in which I want to move through the days ahead. And that's how the archetypes help us. That's how these symbols, these letters, this occult language helps us. It's a technology to help us make the most of the days to come. And it's telling us, the message this week is telling us, you can either face the darkness or begin to face the light, reflecting that frequency of love, light, truth, so that you become all powerful by way of humility, knowing it's not even your power. So then that power can carry you through the challenges ahead, the days ahead, the experiences ahead, making the most of each and every one. Thank you for sitting with me in this activation portal and not giving up in the beginning, and knowing that as the activation unfolds, all the threads begin to tie together. The image gets ever clearer. And by the end of it, we come to a message that is so powerful. And it's our doing together. It's the frequency of our unification in this present moment, wherever you are in the world, that's bringing this message to the surface. And so as we sit here present with our light and with our focus, with our intention, we draw out that clarity. And I'm so grateful for everybody in this circle and for everyone who's going to watch this video and receive this message and do the work, even if it's just internal. If this video reaches someone and it just makes them think of these concepts, that's profound. Because thought is everything, mind is everything. And when we just look at this message, it touches parts of our brain that these cards reflect. These cards are a reflection of parts of our brain. And so when we talk about this stuff, it's like NLP, right? It lights up the brain. And just talking about it, just doing the activation is the work. It's the beginning of the work. So if you know someone who could benefit from this message, a friend, a family member, maybe you have a favorite group that you're a part of on Facebook, please share this with them. If you know someone who could help activate this message further, please share this with them. Tell them to follow the page. We do this every week. I'm also on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram. These videos go to YouTube and Instagram, Rebecca Magic. You can share with people who have those platforms, who have access to those platforms if they're not on Facebook. Remember that when we do this work, you guys, we are doing it for the whole, and everybody who receives the same message is then getting on the same page. We're all uniting in one shared ideal, which is the most powerful thing we can do. And the archetypes give us an organized system to be able to do that work with ease. Because every single card, when we just look at it, it gets us in touch with that part of the brain, which reflects a part of the collective mind. And so when we all tune into that one part, we're lighting up that one part of the collective mind in a huge way, and it has a profound effect across time and space. So this is not just some little thing we're doing here every week. So thank you for joining me on this mission. And happy Hanukkah for those of you who have been celebrating your whole lives, or those of you who are just now learning about what Hanukkah is as a mystical ritual. And if you want to know more, please add my private group, Shabbat Crew. I will post resources in there if you want to partake in the ritual. I encourage you to learn. There were many Kabbalists who were not raised Jewish at all, and they found that these rituals have a science to them, and they absolutely do. So many blessings to you on your endeavor to diving deep into the meaning of Hanukkah. However you're going to celebrate, I wish you a meaningful experience. And for those of you who want to learn more about, how to activate your archetypes, how to understand the tarot in a way that can help you in everyday life, please reach out to me. Ask me about my books. Ask me about my online lessons. Ask me about my video course. I'm here to help you learn about these archetypes so that you can become aware of how they operate within you and within all things. Because through that awareness and through that cultivation of a relationship with each of these parts, you become more whole in mind, in body, and in spirit. And you gain a sense of empowerment that is the whole reason why we're here. So the tarot can help you to get to that place if you know how to use it. Shabbat Shalom, happy Hanukkah, happy final quarter moon. Even if you don't think about anything we spoke about in this video ever again, just know that you're at the point within the cycle right now that is a closing up of one door and opening another. So how can you be aware of that and let go of the old and create a powerful platform for the new, a sustainable foundation for a great new beginning? Thank you for doing the work. I will see you guys tonight for the Shabbat candle lighting in our private group, Shabbat Crew. If you want to learn the ancient melody of the prayer, please join us. Love to see you there. Love to have you in that portal. Thank you again. I love you guys. If I don't see you for Shabbat tonight, I will see you for next week's activation for the new moon. I'm already ready. I'm ready for all of it. How about you? Oh, you ready? Love you guys. Shalom.